Hi, fellow Swifties! I am so excited because we're now into episode 2 where we can start really digging into our random Taylor Swift thoughts. And I guess it's not so random. Like, I formulated this episode, I did a whole script. It's not like I literally just had a thought and came and sat down and started recording, but these were random thoughts that popped in my brain at certain points in times. And I have a notes app where I'm just jotting these babies down, and when it's time to record, then we're going to deep dive into them. So I absolutely have to know your random thoughts that you have. You can send them when you have them, or when you have time, and you can send that to norulesswiftiepod@gmail.com. You can find the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at norulesswiftiepod, and I'm available to be found on those places as well. I'm much less thrilling than this podcast, trust me. So don't expect much besides cat videos. But you can find me at Brianna May Peters on Instagram and TikTok as well. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. So I was listening to Reputation, as I typically do. And there's a very interesting lyric in Don't Blame Me. So she says, "For you, I would cross the line, I would waste my time, and I would lose my mind." And now that we're in the post Tortured Poets Department era, all the bells were going off, and I was like, in So Long London, she directly references wasting her time. And when she's like, "And I'm pissed off, you let me give you all that youth for free." And so, yeah, as I'm listening to Don't Blame Me, it's just so interesting to me how she's made this reference before on Folklore and Peace, which we do know to be like around Joe and that whole relationship where she's like, "Give you my wild, give you a child," which meaning giving you my wild just as like my wild youth, give you my youth. Like, I will happily give you those things. So Reputation, Folklore, she's talking about happily giving him her youth. She's happy to do that. Now we fast forward to Tortured Poets Department, and she's like, "How dare you let me give you those things?" Just the whole interesting scope of that relationship and how she's able to like reference those points in time again and again. Now we are just mostly focusing in on like, "I would waste my time" lyric, but I do find it interesting that even back in Reputation, she was saying "I would lose my mind," because in Reputation, that's a newer relationship for her and Joe. So it was interesting to me that she was writing about losing her mind for him and willing to waste her time for him. Like, she was willing to go through all of that for this love, for this relationship. It's just kind of interesting to me that like, even back then she acknowledged that it had the opportunity to do that, but she was down to do it. Obviously that changes, like with most things, with time, perspective, and gaining an understanding and really getting to know somebody on a deeper level. You understand, like, actually these things aren't really that cool with me that I thought I could be chill with. I just love how in So Long London, she turns it and she flips it. And she's like, "How dare you let me give you this for free?" What? No, not in any sort of long-term relationship. It's that you get to the point where you say like, "This is my person. This is my person who understands me better than anybody else, who knows me at this point in time better than anybody else, better than my family, better than my friends." It's really pillow talk. It really is the things that in the moments that people don't get to see where you connect and you have this really strong bond. And she's saying, "You knew you weren't going to marry me. You knew that this wasn't it for you, but you kept letting me give that to you for free." And I love So Long London, if you can't tell. It's like one of my favorite songs off of the Tortured Poets Department. But yeah, I do find it also interesting with the "lose my mind" lyric because in Hits Different, which is kind of that like last bridge from Midnight's era into Tortured Poets Department era, where she's saying, "Is it you or have they come to take me away?" Meaning, have they come to take me away because I've gone insane and I'm like obsessing and I'm crazy over the loss of this love and this relationship. And then she just like literally starts the journey of TTPD with, "I was supposed to be sent away, but they forgot to come and get me." And just to have that through line from Reputation all the way to Tortured Poets Department is insane. I will also say in You're Losing Me, which is again from the Midnights era, but we got that much later, but still from that era. How can you say that you love someone you can't tell is dying? Which again taps into that. How are you going to let me give you this? How are you going to let me ruin myself? How are you going to let me dim my shine? How are you going to let me give you all of it? I'm Taylor Allison friggin' Swift. How are you going to let me just give all of that up? Wouldn't a supportive partner want my person to thrive and do their passions and do the things that make them happy? That's what a good, healthy relationship is supposed to be. She's not a normal person. We can talk about relationships. Well, this is what would happen and this is what should happen. But it's like everything has to be talked about in a different sense when it comes to her and relationships. Unfortunately, that's what she says. In Peace, I can do all the things and I can try to protect as much as I can, but at the end of the day, I am who I am, and that's going to change the dynamics here. So I just find it very interesting that in all of this with Joe, she's saying, I'm going crazy over it, giving my youth to it. I'm dying for it. And You're Losing Me, she said, like, I gave you my best me's, my endless empathy, and all I did was bleed as I tried to be your bravest soldier. Nobody's perfect in a relationship. I'm not saying Taylor Swift was this perfect angel and Joe did all bad. It was obviously there's both sides to stories. There's situations we don't know about, but just in the grand view of things, what she's giving us from her perspective when she writes the songs, when she's coming up with her lyrics, is that, you know, it was a relationship I was willing to go all in on. And not only just go all in at 100%, I was probably actually doing like 110 because I really wanted it to work. And not only was I not getting matched in my energy, but he was like letting me die for it. And that is so rough. I know that was a rough journey for her to go through, but I just can't come back to the thing. And luckily she did go through it and she came out on the other side and she did leave that relationship, because a lot of the times when we fall in love with somebody, we kind of let a lot of things go to the wayside that we should recognize as red flags and stuff like that, because we've either made a family together, like there's children involved, or, you know, there's finances, and there's so many real life things tied into relationships. And Taylor moved across into a different country for him. She had multiple houses, like she still travels. Like, again, this is what I mean. Like, her life is not like ours, but she really did try, I feel like. I think there's good and bad that comes from that, like having that much intensity and having that much obsessiveness, and there's good and bad there. So I don't want to paint anybody out to be untouchable. Clearly, there were things going on in that relationship that weren't good for either of them. But, you know, just when you have that perspective of like, I'm trying really, really hard, and yet I'm not getting the same from you that I'm putting in, that is really hard to acknowledge and then try to understand how you move forward from that. So for Taylor, that's what she does. She writes the lyrics and she makes the albums and she puts the songs out and she sings it, and it's cathartic. One of my favorite things about being a Swiftie is when a new album comes out and that's your whole persona, it's your whole identity, it's everything you listen to, it's on repeat, you're just going through, you're listening from start to end, then you pick and choose your favorite songs and you re-listen to those, and like, you are in this bubble of this new album. And then as soon as you open up to the other songs again, you are putting all these pieces together. It is so much fun. It's part of what makes being a Swiftie, honestly, one of my favorite things. It doesn't have anything to do with work. It doesn't have anything to do with anything serious. It's just this community we get to be a part of. And I will say, whether we're all making all of this up or Taylor does this as direct references for us, it's fun either way. I love being a Swiftie and I love this community, but I just want to also put out there, she's a person. This is a parasocial relationship. We don't actually know any of the information. If she does connect these thoughts throughout albums or throughout songs, or, you know, journeys through certain relationships, I do feel like it is a fun little nod to us, because she is a person who cannot get on, you know, Instagram these days and be like, yeah, so this is what happened in this relationship, this is why this ended, and give her side. She can't move like that through the world. She is on a different stratosphere. So the way that she communicates to her fans, I think, is through the music. And so again, whether We're all making this up. There is no direct lines of reference. We're all putting random strings together that shouldn't be. It's fun. So again, I have to know what references you've heard from certain albums and certain songs. But what I would say is I would go listen right now to Don't Blame. Well, wait till the episode is over and then go listen to Don't Blame Me. And immediately after, listen to So Long London. That'll rock your world, honestly, if you listen to those back to back, because just the direct references that she makes, it's insane. Also, I want to know your thoughts. Like, what have you heard referenced from albums into other albums? I've heard a ton too. Like, I really am just choosing this one. Oh, another one that I really like is Stitches Undone, but she makes that reference in, what's the song? Glitch. She makes that reference in Glitch to, being stitched and put together. And then in So Long London, she's like, the stitches are coming undone. Like, I'm just unraveling. So I love this woman. I love the way she uses her art and her ability to write to like kind of create these things. All right. So that's it for episode 2. I'm so excited to deep dive into more Taylor Swift thoughts with you guys when they occur. But please let me know what you think about this, what other ones you have. I'm so excited to dive deep. I want to listen to the songs that have connections back to back. So send me what you found and I will connect with you guys soon. I'll see you on Instagram or I'll be back here for another episode next week. So see you then.